Do you want your business to grow faster? Are you open to new and out-of-the-box ways to drive revenues and increase value? How do you imagine the most successful entrepreneurs and business leaders double, triple, or expand their businesses tenfold or more? The answer is Deals. This is a weekly podcast featuring conversations with business owners, executives, and leaders as we reveal behind-the-scenes details that give you, our listeners, the confidence to pursue your own deal-driven growth. On the show, we discuss a huge variety of deals, everything from large, complex mergers and acquisitions to smaller deals that you can do even without significant capital. My name is Corey Kupfer, and I've been supporting deal-driven growth for businesses for 35 years as a successful entrepreneur, professional negotiator, and attorney. My goal is to help you strategize, plan for, find, and complete deals that will help your company grow faster. Welcome to the DealQuest Podcast. Let's get started. DealQuest listeners and viewers, I am so excited to have Precious Williams as a returning guest on the DealQuest podcast. Last time Precious was here was almost a year ago, about 11 months ago. And at that time, we were audio only. Now I remember. And we're actually doing this one live. And so much has happened for Precious in the last 11 months. So let me just introduce her for those of you who don't know who she is, and you should. Precious Williams is a returning DealQuest guest. In fact, she was on episode 79. So go back and check out episode 79. This is going to be 120 something, maybe 130, somewhere around there. Like I said, we're almost a year since then. She is a 13-time elevator pitch champion. She has successfully appeared on Shark Tank and taken her company from $0 to multiple six figures in less than 2 years. She has since watched her clients gain national and international media attention, secure corporate training contracts, and launch their next beautiful now. In addition to helping women entrepreneurs and business leaders master their pitch and own their value, love that part, she also conducts corporate trainings. Precious is a world-class speaker for global brands, including Google, LinkedIn, Microsoft, George Washington University, and more. Never want to forget her roots. She gives back by working with organizations like Bottomless Closet, the Barry's Women's Mission, and Dress for Success. A 3-time #1 best-selling author, her newest release is Pitching for Profit, the Bad Pitches Playbook to Convert Conversations into Currency. There it is. That book's come out since our last discussion. When she was on the podcast last. So that's her newest. Precious, welcome back to the DealQuest podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. You know what? Last Thursday, my billboard went up in Times Square with this book. And you had to sit there and cry. Like, oh my goodness, my third book is up on billboard in Times Square. There's so much that has happened since the last time you and I have connected.
Yeah, and I can't wait to talk about all of it. So, folks, listen, on that prior episode, I want you to, because we're not going to be talking about the same things we talked about last time. You should go back and listen to the last time, because on the last episode 79, we talked about her Shark Tank experience. We talked about how we mainly focused on pitching and how she trains people to pitch and how to be successful at pitching. And we're not going to be focusing on that now. So you want to go back and listen to that episode as well. Here, I really want to get an update because Precious has had so much going on. Things have really been blowing up for her. And, everything that she does, has some sort of deal attached to it. So why don't we talk about the book first, Precious? Listen, doing a book is a deal, right? So talk to us about how you did this book versus the other books. So maybe they're all the same. Are we self-publishing? Are we hybrid publishing? Are we with a major publisher? Tell us how that book came about.
So I'm still with the same publisher I did for my first 2 books. The thing that made this different is, I am a pitch master. I'm a 13-time national champion. But what makes this book so different, why it's called Pitching for Profit and not just another Bad Bitches Playbook, Bad Bitches and Power Pitches, is because I wanted to share with people, because people often wonder, how in the world did you go from no one knowing you to, in less than 3 years, walking the halls of the LinkedIn's, the Googles, the Microsofts, the Intuit, QuickBooks, the Federal Reserve Bank, and you're not this corporate person. You don't show up in suits. You don't do anything like that. How are you able to get into these type of companies and corporations? Why are television networks, why are media clamoring for you without you having to put out PR and anything? What is something that you're doing? Yeah. And so I wanted to write pitching for profit, because a lot of times, we're pitching, we get the revenue, we happy or whatever. But what would it mean for you if you could build and rebuild your network to make it more lucrative for you? What would you do if someone could pitch you in the spaces you didn't even know existed? What would it mean to have affiliates and referrals? They're coming to you. They're like, listen, I want whatever you're doing. I want to be a part of it. And so, when I started pitching way back in the day, 10 years ago, I was doing it, to raise money, possibly gain relationships. But now I want to teach women, especially, how to be like NBA YoungBoy, never broke again. You got one relationship, one call. That's a guy in Atlanta. I think he's an attorney. One call, that's all. Like, if I ever get into a bind, who do I call? Corey, I've been having a lot of dental surgery. When I have dental surgery, do you know who reaches out to me? Not just my clients, not even just prospects, but companies. What can we send to you to help you feel better? Jigga who? Jigga what? I'll come home and there's food in my refrigerator. Oh, hey, we want to help you get better. Let us know if you need anything. That has never happened. What would it be like for people who are watching if their customers and their clients sent you things just to let them know that they're thinking about you and how you've had such an impact on your life, on their lives? I have clients that send. I just had an event on May 22nd in Brooklyn. It was live and virtual. It was called True Tea Time with Precious. I got to introduce my new merchandise line, Pitch Please, Bad Bitches to Power Pitches. And I got to, have a book signing. But what was most important is and we're going to talk about this later, I'm having a new pitch event, a conference in September called Pitch Please, the Ultimate Women's Power Pitch Summit. And so with all of this going on at my event, first of all, I was stunned that people came as far as California, Louisiana, Texas, Pennsylvania, Michigan, in addition to the tri-state area. So when my friend and I decided to have this event, and yes, she kicked my butt to have it, because if you want to know, I would have done it virtually. She was like, you're a leader. Show up and show out and let them know what you're capable of. We went from 15 tickets sold 2 weeks before the event to ultimately selling 71 tickets. It was 66 people showing up.
Wow.
So and again, these weren't $2 tickets. It was like $45, $50, and $75 tickets. And then they got to experience different sides of me that you can't see on social media, or that you don't see when I'm training. And so with Pitching for Profit, they literally got to meet people they had never even knew were in my network. Now imagine that, right? So I didn't get here by myself, Corey. Like when you talk about, DealQuest, like it takes two or more parties. It takes a relationship. It takes trust and all of that. How did people learn to trust me when I came out of a very dark situation to getting me into spaces that I can't take pictures of? I just got to show up and just go in. And so Pitching for Profit, I want people to have a playbook. When this happens, what do you do? I'm like your coach. You come into the huddle. This is what's happening. This is run the play.
I love it.
This book truly is your playbook. So if you've never played sports, you know how when football players they get in the huddle, when basketball players get in the huddle with their coach. When you're going through something, here's your step-by-step approach. So imagine me and you in a huddle. This happens. What are you going to do? Like most people don't know how to get people into their network the right way. They don't know how to attract VIPs. They don't understand how to attract companies, corporations, and nonprofits to them. They think, I got to pay somebody. Sometimes it could be in how you create your content. It could be how you slide into their DMs. We talk about when people are dating, she slid into my DM. No, how do you slide into somebody else's DM and get them to respond? And not just say, buy my stuff, I want to be on. No, make yourself attractive. Make yourself attractive.
All right. So I know this is such a hard thing to do, but I'm going to slow you down.
Slow me down.
Break some stuff down for some folks, right? Because in everything you said, we've got a book deal, right? Your third, okay?
My third.
Name published, all right? We've got a conversation of, I had Ramon Ray on for the second time also. Right? Ramon's the bomb, right? And, Ramon likes to call himself a baby influencer, and he's very modest and, and whatever. But, you are playing in some of that same kind of space, right?
Mm-hmm.
You like developing a reputation, having your circle be valuable to other companies, right? Building relationships. He talked about being an entrepreneur in residence with Oracle NetSuite, which is something that he created, to provide value to that company. Right? You're doing some of that stuff, right? You're speaking, etc. All right. So I want to break it down step by step. All right. So books. Let's talk about books.
Okay.
Right? most people don't fully understand all the options in terms of book deals. People think, oh, you get a big advance from publishers. Most people don't, right?
No.
Most people don't go with major companies. You need to have, I mean, you do an amazing job promoting your books. You need to have a marketing strategy. You need to have a business plan behind a book. So talk to us. So this is, you have a publisher, right? Who's the publisher on your book?
The publisher is Penn Legacy. So notice I didn't say Penguin. Notice I didn't say Random House. Notice I didn't say any of those, right? Because I had meetings with, those top publishers, and there was something that I noticed. You ever listen to when they talk about young musical artists and how they'll sign these deals and they'll wind up later like, oh my goodness, I signed the wrong deal. It sounded good in the beginning. So with Penn Legacy and the publisher, her name is Sharon Monet. She is a playwright. She's written 21 best-selling books, whatever. I've known her since she worked at CNN. And so one day, I may have said this to you before, she was like, where that book at? This is 2019. I was like this. And so she was like, you need to write the book. And it became Bad Bitches and Power Pitches. She took care of, she and her team took care of the editing, the typesetting, making sure everything was right and everything, make sure it was distributed, not just on Amazon, but Target.com, Books A Million, like anywhere books are sold, my books were out there. And I was shocked because you think a small publishing house, what do you expect? You don't expect much, right? You're just like, well, if two people buy them, great.
But I didn't expect. But they got you distribution, which is key.
Right. But I didn't know it would debut at number 1. I didn't even realize that when Forbes magazine came to talk to me about my book, again, it's supposed to be a small publishing house, right? Why is Forbes calling me? Why? And having them write an article on me. No, I didn't pay for it. Nope. And if they had told me it was trash, I'd have still been happy because Forbes said it was trash. So when they reviewed it, that really led to a lot. And the great thing about, I don't say for all small publishers, but for Penn Legacy especially, is everything is mine. I'm not splitting and cutting with them at all. It is all mine. So when people buy from my website or they buy from me, that all comes back to me, right? It's not split up among the marketing department. It's me. Now, when it comes to Amazon and all of that, you already know Amazon gonna get their cut, Target will get their cut. But when it comes to me, every book sold on my website or through me, or when people come to book signings, that's all mine. And that's what I appreciate. And you don't really know how good that is until you hear the horror stories from other people. Yes, you heard the Stephen Kings and all these other people. Most people don't have that. Most people are lucky if they would sell 500 books in like a lifetime.
That's right.
My books are still selling 2 years later.
Love it.
When the government buys your books, when these big companies buy your books, and that's another thing that I never thought about before, Corey, if we can keep it a buck. I'm a speaker. I'm an international professional speaker. As part of, compensation for me, in addition to my speaking rates, I often try to buy my books in bulk for people who are coming, or they can buy books to, give out randomly, but that's part of it. And so that contributes towards your overall book sales in total, right? No one thinks about that. And so I always try to add that in as part of my speaking fee, that they have to purchase books. So even though New York Times can't see that, it's still counted. And think about that. There are people who are really New York Times bestsellers and New York Times bestsellers don't even know about, because they're selling it out of the trunks of their car. They're doing this and that. And that's why I said, just because other people are doing it their way doesn't mean you can't find another way to do it and still be just as prosperous. Like, I'm the killer pitch master, Corey. I remember when I started, they were like, you're too fat, you're too black, no Ivy League degree. Well, Corey, did you know I spoke at Harvard a month and a week ago? I trained a class.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. So great. So listen, folks, if you are interested in doing a book, listen, I did a book as well. I did it with a hybrid business publisher. I actually wrote them a check because they had a turnkey system. And I knew that I was too damn busy to get a book done without help. And I own the rights to it, right? I get paid, whatever. And I knew that my model was I wasn't going to get rich off of selling books, but I was going to leverage that book into significant business opportunities, which I have done.
Yes,
and, which Precious has done as well. So there are different business models around the book game and the book deal. My wife, Ra, did a major book publishing deal. She was able to get a major deal with a significant advance, which is very rare. Even people who get major deals don't get significant advances anymore. She was able to do that. That was the right move for her, for her book, The Calling. So depends upon different deals in the book industry, right? So we'll start there. Okay, now let's talk about what you have leveraged in the last year. And you started talking about some of it. I mean, some of these corporate relationships, right? That's a big, it's one of the reasons why Ramon Ray's name came to mind, because what Ramon has been able to do over his career is really leverage these relationships with big brands, right? As a quote unquote baby influencer is what, and the reason why it's important, I always kid him because he's too humble sometimes. But the reason why that is important is, and his point in saying it is that, he doesn't have millions and millions of, he's not Kim Kardashian. He's not, whoever, right? He's not Beyonce. So his point is you don't need to be that, right, to have influencer brands, because he has a particular audience that they want to get to. So talk to me about your experience in terms of attracting and doing deals with big brands.
Well, I have to agree with Ramon. I'm a baby influencer, although I do have influencer contracts. How about that? And I'm 42. Yes, the doll is 42. So one of the ways I was able to do this. So I've been a killer pitch master since 2013. I started my company, Perfect Pitches by Precious, in 2013. But it was after I went through that dark time and came out in late 2018, and I realized that some of the, I did Shark Tank and all of them, there were some relationships I could never repair because of the dark situation and dark circumstances that I was under. So I had to get creative. And so, as I may have told you before, my first speaking engagement was at Bottomless Closet, who then introduced me to Viacom. I was training in Viacom. This is less than 4 months after I left the Bowery Mission Women's Center. Do you know what it's like to walk into a place that I pitched years ago? I pitched shows years ago there, and here I am walking in as a trainer. And then from there, here I am, because of my Bottomless Closet experience and being able to go above and beyond what a subject matter expert can do. It can make it fun, and can make it engaging, but make sure that they learn something. There's measurable results to what it is that I do. I do more than pitching. I'm a communication skills expert, visibility, intergenerational communication, internal, external communication, boundaries and stuff like that. When other companies saw Viacom, what do you think they started doing? Jigga who? Jigga what? And then that led to In Style magazine, Saturday Night Live. Like, there are things I'm still stunned by because it doesn't make sense in the natural road. Joe knows it's in the natural, it makes no sense. And I started teaching and training in all these places, and I'm like, they have no idea. They have no idea where I just came from. But it didn't matter to them because I showed up as I was supposed to. So the more I was speaking, the more those logos showed up on places. People are like, I've never heard of her. So to go back to what Ramon talks about being a baby influencer, if the right people know you, it doesn't matter if the world doesn't know you. I don't need the whole world to know I'm the killer pitch master. But let me tell you what it has afforded me. Last year, I was a keynote speaker at International Women's Day in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I'm American in Canada on their International Women's Day, and they bring me in. Not only that, when the pandemic started, you know how everybody was like, man, they're not going to pay coaches, consultants, or whatever. And so I was just like, well, I don't really consider myself a coach. I consider myself a trainer and a teacher.
Yes.
And so while people were talking about, oh, they're never going to pay, I got indignant. Listen, I went through homelessness and severe alcohol addiction years ago. I went through the darkest times by myself. I understand that the world is going through things, but I'm about to go ham and cheese, peanut butter and jelly on people. So then, because I had such a reputation with some of these great companies, I started to utilize those same contacts. I asked them to do testimonials on LinkedIn for me. I asked them to put a good word out for me. I asked them for warm introductions to other companies. And because I did that, and because I had a solid foundation of testimonies and people were willing to vouch for me, then it became an easier sell. I remember I spoke at LinkedIn last year for the Transform Her conference. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, I'm speaking I'm going to the VIP luncheon. I'm just like, ooh, I'm thinking I'm all that. I had no idea by the time that conference was over, I was rated the #1 speaker. Now, mind you, who all spoke at LinkedIn? I was the #1. And I wasn't talking about LinkedIn. I was talking about, pitch, whatever. They called me back this year and they were like, Precious, we want you to speak at the conference. Yeah. And they're like, we want you to speak for 4 minutes. But it's LinkedIn. So When I tell you, I spoke right after the opening speaker, right? She spoke for like 5 minutes. In 4 minutes and 17 seconds, I promise you, my link. So you know how you're doing your training here, but you can see your LinkedIn stuff start populating.
Yep.
So many departments in LinkedIn and then other companies around the nation started contacting me. What are your rates? We'd love to have you come in. I spoke for 4 minutes and 17 seconds.
All right. So listen, I want to break this down further. So what many speakers do is, and listen, frankly, a lot of them found out that this was a vulnerable business model during the pandemic, right? The only thing they do is get paid to be on stage, right? And you certainly get, you're an in-demand speaker. It's one of the ways you make money. That's great. Okay. But what you're also pointing to is that you are leveraging that into other training opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then, so I want you to talk about that a little bit. And I want you to talk about the influencer contract piece a little bit as well. Because I've been saying way before the pandemic, listen, I come out of business, right? I started speaking as an adjunct to my law firm before I split it off into a separate business.
Right.
For me, business models are everything for me. Sustainable business is everything for me. I don't want to be dependent upon, and I'm not criticizing anybody else. There are people who keynote speakers, it's all they do. They make a huge amount of money. It's great. As long as they understand there's a business vulnerability when we can't be on a live stage, right?
Exactly.
So you have found multiple streams of income, though, different business, so I want to talk a little bit about that because I'm a big advocate for trying to, if you are a speaker, leveraging it into other opportunities. So talk about some of those other things you do and you leverage it into, and also the influencer side of it.
Okay, so remind me about the influencer in case I get caught up in it. Okay, so here's what I decided to do. So when people said people weren't going to, we weren't going to have any more stage events, and those companies had already paid me. Like, oh my God. So I went back to them and I said, can we do it virtually, right? I'm thinking they're going to say no, but they already love my energy. And, I turned what would have been their physical into virtual, and I did longer trainings. Yep. So I never had to return that money. And then I turned that into, if you like what I did here, here's some of the other things I can offer. And then I became a corporate trainer for some people. Now, for some people who had never heard of me, I at least had my YouTube where it had me talking, like I have a LinkedIn live show. I don't know if you knew that. I have a LinkedIn live show called Keeping It Real with the Killer Pitchmaster that airs every Sunday on LinkedIn Live, right?
Awesome.
Can we talk about, I never applied. They came to me, because the algorithm showed them like people are really engaged with this particular woman. So with the Keeping It Real with the Killer Pitchmaster live show, other executives from other companies will watch me, be like, oh my God, she's funny, she's engaging, but also, man, I learned something I never thought I would learn, not even just about pitching, but about communication, about how do you have crucial conversations, uncomfortable conversations. Can we bring her in? And they never come with, oh, well, we don't have, they're like, okay, what are your rates? I like that question more than what, we don't even gotta have that conversation. Second, one of the things is bringing in the books is also like, hey, if you're gonna book me, make sure you get the book so that people know what I'm talking about in certain things and we can expand upon it. Third, I created a new merchandise line on Shopify. So I have cups, mugs, I have bags, I have pillows, and people love it, right? Love it. And that's why it was such a big hit on May 22nd, because people had never seen merch like mine before, right? For my cup, Pitch Please, there's a golden microphone and talking out of it, and it's beautiful, right? So being able to, I'm building a tribe around me. So even if you think, oh, she's not necessarily corporate, I'm a former attorney, so I know how to walk into spaces and do what I need to do, but you still need to have fun. And I think subject matter experts, even though they sound good on paper, when you have them there and people are watching paint dry or they're playing with their phone, with me, they don't do that. They're just like, oh my goodness, this is so different. Also, I decided that even though I like to speak to women-focused and women-based summits, conferences, and stuff like that, I can also show that I can do this no matter where you put me. You want to put me with teenagers, I can do that. If you want to put me in a mixed environment, I love to teach at management level and higher, but I can go lower too. I can go lower in the employment, hierarchy. And being able to do that and show that if you love what I did here, here's some other things I have in mind for you. And so because they loved it, it was an easier sell. Do you see what I'm saying? So the merchandise, the books. In addition, with my my pitch event, Pitch Please, is coming up, bringing in investors and corporations and sponsors, that's an easier sell because they've already worked with me. And now they know the caliber of women that I'm bringing in. And when it comes to influencers, so last year, Oh, so when I spoke at Viacom in 2019, it was Smart and Sexy Day, which is a lingerie day where they bring in all these women, give them beautiful lingerie and stuff like that. The next year, last year, they booked me for an influencer contract with Smart and Sexy. So, I had to post about it. I was rocking my cuteness. I used to have a lingerie company called Curvy Girls. I thought, isn't this the greatest thing? And so then it came again. But how does that happen? Because I demonstrated that as a CEO of Curvy Girls Lingerie, I broke through to show that full figure divas and plus size fashionistas like beautiful lingerie. And here I am, being introduced to In Style magazine, J. Jill, Hearst Publication. Like, these are places I never saw myself. Black on both sides, nothing ambiguous about me. I never thought that when I walked in, that I would walk the red carpet as if this is where I've always been. And so getting that influencer contract, meaning, they're creating copy and everything, and here I am putting it out, and I believe in it too. It's not like I'm just talking out the side of my neck, but getting that sort of thing, I only thought was for young people, or I thought you were a celebrity. But here I am. I'm a media personality, but I'm really a businesswoman who showed how to make it without looking the part that everybody thinks you should. Last time I checked, Corey, I don't have six-pack abs. My butt isn't, but I do come in with swag and energy. And because I'm a student and a president at the same time of pitching, you know what I mean? So I've created a lane, and a lot of these influencer type companies that like influencers, they're not just interested in the young TikTokers. They're also interested in those who created a lane that the right people know about and see me as an authority figure and as someone who has credibility.
Yeah, I love that. And that's such a great point, because listen, in popular culture, the whole influencer culture, that's a different thing. And it's, it's criticized sometimes, it's looked down upon, or it's envied, by, teens or whatever. We're talking about a whole different lane here. And there's so many people, like Precious, like Ramon. Listen, I've done it to some extent. It's a little different for me, but, I've been talking listen, there was a time only 5-6 years ago where, I had a personal Facebook page that I spoke to my friends on a little bit, and I had LinkedIn with a bunch of contacts I had no idea what to do with, and that was about it, right? Mm-hmm. And, when I published my book and decided to do the podcast, whatever, and also just because for so many years I just was frustrated because I didn't have a great way to stay top of mind, okay, right, except for going to lunch with folks or whatever, and that's not scalable. I've really started learning about this concept of authority marketing, right? Which is really what we're talking about here, right? You establish credibility in a particular area, niche, industry, whatever it is, right? For a certain thing, like being the killer pitch master, right? And when you do that, several things happen. One, you get to expand. Listen to what Precious is doing, right? Speaking, training, consulting, books, merchandise, right? And there's more that you haven't heard about. So, it gives you different opportunities. But the other thing it does, and this is key for me, especially for me, because I'm just a lot of people in the speaker world, in a lot of these worlds, approach it like a lot of musicians used to, for example, or artists, where it's a gig mentality. They're just hoping somebody picks them and is willing to cut them a check for something, right? Right. That's very different than creating authority, creating trust, creating a reputation. When you heard Precious say companies are coming to her, right? She's not chasing them. They're coming to her and saying, we want you for this. What can you do for us for that? And I have that in a very different way, in a different industry, whatever, right? Where people affirmatively reach out to me, right? Folks like Ramon Ray have that. And the reason why I want to say that is because, like Precious said, you don't need to be some celebrity, right? What you need to do is provide value, establish credibility, become an authority, and become known in a niche or niches where you can provide value to folks. And that's what Precious is doing. And it's a phenomenal business model. And there are all kinds of deals to be had. And they start coming to you. I always tell people, Corey, the more you ask now, the less you'll have to later, right? Mm. So if you're asking, you're persisting, you are pushing forward. Let's take a break from the show for a minute so I can invite you to a new way to determine your deal readiness. I created a fast and easy assessment that will determine exactly how deal ready you are. Once you complete the assessment, I use your responses to identify the obstacles that are holding you back from being a deal-driven growth genius. It's as easy as heading to corykupfer.com/assessment. That's corykupfer.com/assessment and filling out a few multiple choice questions. I'll be checking in after the episode to see what your results are. Now back to the show.
Let's face it. We're in a pandemic and economic downturn and social unrest. The news will have you thinking everybody's poor, broke, and lonely. And it can't be done. I had the best year I've ever had in the history of my company last year, documented, taxes done, and everything. How was I able to do it? I just decided, just like we talked, I just decided that I'm not going to listen to what everybody else is listening to. If I went through the hard times alone, I want to bring people up with me and show them how it's done, right? And so in my writing, I don't need people to stay with me for 15, 20, 50 years. I want to give people the tools to go forward. And is everything I've gone through, you're going to go through? Probably not. But I do want you to know that there are deals to be made every day. There are opportunities that are right in front of you. You can't see because the news has gotten you to think that it can't happen. And again, I told you I'm Black on both sides. There's nothing ambiguous. It would tell you that because of my skin color, because I'm not thin, because I came from the hood of St. Louis, that there's no way I could do it unless I was an athlete or an entertainer. Well, I'm showing you I'm doing it in business and I'm doing it my way, as colorful as I want to be. That's not holding me back. And I wish that when I was an attorney, that I had known that. And it's not a product of me just being in my 40s. I think it's also a product of, there comes that moment as an entrepreneur or as a speaker, I've been doing this for 26 years, where either I'm going to stand in my power, or I'm going to let everyone tell me how I should move. I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm not a transformational speaker, and I'm not an inspirational speaker. I'm the killer pitch master. I'm here to help you slay all competition. How do we do that? Through powerful pitching. We're going to do the sales pitch, the investor pitch, the speaker pitch. We're going to do the elevator pitch. We're going to do the interview pitch, and being able to do that. And then once you establish yourself, it's not just a tagline, but how do you establish your brand? Then how do you go to the next level? Some people thought all I could do was teach on pitching. Well, now you see me in corporations. Corporations aren't hiring me for pitching. They're hiring me for content creation, messaging, marketing, and that sort of thing. And being able to expand, because I'm gonna tell you what individuals used to do to me. Oh, you're nobody. But I wasn't anybody until you saw me on LinkedIn. I wasn't nobody until you saw me in Microsoft. I wasn't anybody until you saw me in Google. Oh, she really is that. Because I kept believing when other people told me I couldn't. And what you said, Corey, about how the gig, just getting in here, that was me too. Listen, it was. Look, I didn't know any better. But then I started to pay attention to you. I started paying attention to others. And it was like leveraging these opportunities, and also who is really in your network to open doors. I'm not afraid to ask anymore. And the more I ask, when I asked 2 years ago, maybe 1 year ago, I'm not asking anymore. Now it's like, Precious, remember when you called me like a year ago? Yeah, I got this opportunity. Thank you. Because I kept staying the course when others fell off.
And I love that. And, the part of it, the self-belief part and the ability to ignore the noise, right? Whether it's the news, whether it's people's judgment of you. And listen, all of us have experienced it in some way. Obviously, some of us have different backgrounds, whatever, have a whole other layer on top of it all.
Right.
But I think everybody has experienced it in some way, the self-doubt, the imposter syndrome, or the judgment that other people have. And one of the things I always say to folks is, listen, when people judge you, it says a lot more about them than it does about you. Okay. I remember, and even well-meaning people, I'm not even talking about people who are looking to take me down. I remember when I decided, and I'm going back now 30 something years, right? When I decided to quit big law, right? I had I came out of top law school. I got, it was 1985. It was a boom economy. I had 17 job offers. I could have had 35 if I wanted them, right? I'm flying, right? I get, prime choice of jobs, and I could have stayed in that environment, but I knew it wasn't for me. I knew I wasn't meant to be in big law. I looked at the lives that the partners had, like what you strive to be. And I'm like, I don't want that. Like, I don't want that. Right. And I knew I didn't want to work for somebody for the rest of my life. So 6 years out of school, I opened my own firm. Right now, by this time, by the way, it's 1991. It's a recession. People are losing jobs. I can't even tell you how many people told me I was crazy. from my parents to my friends to whatever. And these are people who love me. They weren't trying to, they cared about me. They were worried about me. They were like, wait a second. And, in a recession and a down market, you're giving up a job that, where you're about to make six figures in 1992, okay, to not know where your next dollar is coming from. You don't have a book of business, right? But I ultimately believed in me, and I knew what my path was, right? Now I netted $17,000 my first year, right? 38,000 my second year, 78 my third year. Notice I haven't forgotten those numbers, right? By the fourth year, I was making more money than I would have at a big firm, and I never looked back. But the point is that folks. So we built out an office on Wall Street at the time, right? And we had a party, and we had people come in. And when they came to that party, all of these people told me how they knew I'd be successful, how they knew I'd make it. And they didn't remember how they told me not to do it, how they told me that it was a mistake, how they told me. And again, it's not because they're bad people. It's because they were looking at that choice through their own filters, through their own lenses. They couldn't see themselves taking that risk, making that jump. So they told me not to do it. It wasn't because they were trying to hold me down anyway. It's just because they couldn't see. Now, when they walked into my nice Wall Street office with the view of the corner office of the Statue of Liberty, and it was real to them, now they could see it. So now they knew I was always going to be successful. So my point is, you have the haters, right? Now, I get people online who say bad things about me, whatever, my team blocks them, whatever, who cares? But it's beyond the haters. You have people who care about you, who are going to try to slow you down, whatever, not because they're evil or they're negative, but because they can't see it for themselves. Don't let that stop you. So
I'm so glad you said that, because I don't think it's the haters that really stop people. I think it's the well-meaning people around you, right? So as you know, I come from the inner city of St. Louis, Missouri, first high school, college, and law school grad in the family, all in rapid succession. And, I was told to stay being an attorney, just like you, it's stable. I'm glad I did not, because what started to happen, right? 2007, 2008, what? And so when I look back, I find it's more the well-meaning, because, and I will say this because God wants me to say this. When he gave me that vision and he gave me that purpose, and I was able to see clearly, he told me that he needs no co-signers. He created me for a purpose. It's not for everyone else to say, yeah, Precious, go with this, because most people won't, because you're actually scaring people by doing something, and they don't want you to get hurt. But also when you do it, then they think the light is on them, and it's not. It's like, listen, I'm going to keep going. I'm not looking it down at anybody. This was the path that I was placed on, and I decided to keep going no matter what.
Yes.
I don't look down on anybody, but I just chose to live in my vision, and not the reality of poverty, not the reality of the projects, not the reality of just, baby daddies. I also chose to be in different networks for a reason. Because if I was going to be around people and we're doing the same thing we did last year, I'm in the wrong network. I need to be where people are striving, and I need to look up to someone. If everyone's looking up to me, I'm in the wrong network. I want to be able to be like, oh, I would love to know what that feels like. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep my mouth shut while I'm sitting here listening and learning. And when the time comes, I'm going to ask to see if I can get there. But I'm going to do all my due diligence. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to show that I'm about that life. And here's another thing that I think people forget too, Corey. I have a VIP group. It's not a membership, nothing like that. The people who are on your mailing list, those are great, wonderful people. Some people ride it out with you. But my VIPs learn information that people on my mailing list never learn. Yeah. They'll learn when a major cable network wants to do a docuseries on me. They'll learn when certain things are happening, because it shows them, because of the stature that they're at, that I never stopped and I never quit. And they're like, how can I help? What do you need? And it's like, wow, when I shot the MasterCard commercial, Corey, did you see my MasterCard commercial?
I did. I saw that. That's what I was saying. I mean, listen, I love you from the first day we met and whatever, and I'm a big fan. But I've been seeing, you just said something about a major now. You said MasterCard. I saw that. I'm like, she's doing a MasterCard commercial.
MasterCard was wonderful. In fact, I'm in Luminary. This is where my office is. But being here at the Luminary, I remember when MasterCard called, they said, hey, can we do video at your home and at the office? And I contacted Kate Luzio, who is the CEO of Luminary. I was like, Kate, can we film it? I don't think she gonna tell me. No, she's like, oh, we just became a partner with them recently. Yeah, come through her. Send the information. I'm like, and when they came, they said, "What we see? Why you brought us here?" I was like, "This is how we doing it in Nomad, North of Madison. We in Midtown. That's what we do." And just filming. And I think the most wonderful thing that came from just MasterCard, yes, it's a great brand. Yes, to be associated with that brand is great. But how did it happen? The mayor's office. New York City Small Business Services. That's why they're a part of my VIP, because as I move up, that's how I became a member, a mentor with We NYC, Women Entrepreneurs NYC. And then this year they did the inaugural Black Entrepreneurs NYC. So I'm a mentor to the next generation of women entrepreneurs in New York City and Black entrepreneurs in New York City. Just last week, we met with Shopify and we met with another company. And I'm thinking, my goodness, we actually, Tiffany and I, who she's a PR consultant, and I were both BE NYC mentors. We literally went out, I think we were in Brownsville, and we were actually on the street trying to show what SBS, Small Business Services, NYC SBS does for the entrepreneurs in the community. And I said, oh my God, if I wasn't successful, I never would be here. If the right people didn't know what I was doing, I wouldn't be here. There would be no MasterCard. LinkedIn did a full day of videotaping me, a full day. Do you know how I sat there like, a day in the life? That's why the VIPs need to know, because when things need to move, hey, you know what? This is about to happen. What do you need? I may need this, and they'll make it happen, because I'm on that upward trajectory, and it's no doubt that I'm gonna keep going. And that's why I say pitching for profit. Who's in your network? If you don't have the right people in your network now, what do you need to do that? What warm introductions need to be made? These are all part of the deal making process. Am I right, Corey? This is part of the deal making process. If the wrong people, if you run the wrong people, nobody's making a deal with you, or they'll make a deal and realize that they made a mistake. So when I lost everything, I thought I lost all good things. No, I lost all the bad things that shouldn't have been around me in the first place. So now I associate with the right kind of people. If I sense deception and craziness, I get away quickly, because I don't, my VIPs are not going to want to work with that. I already know. There are people that I can't be friends with on social media. What you put on your social media, I cannot have my people looking at, because I don't want them to associate that with me. And being very cautious. It's not about like, people talking about the drinking from that's not what's on that would never be on my thing. But I'm telling you, people pay attention to who else is in your network. If you have the wrong people or shiesty people, they're not gonna be with you, because they already know what it's gonna lead to.
No question. And listen, you hear about it in sport, like, when you're playing a sport, if you're playing people better than you, you get better, right? If you're playing people worse than you, and listen, I'm not, both you and I know we do this. It's a different conversation to say, hey, we're going to choose in certain ways, in certain situations, to give back, to mentor, to work with people who we can help. Right. But in terms of our advancement, and one of the things, I guess I'm going to ask you about this, because it's been my experience. I end up in leadership in a lot of things. And what people don't realize is you can really hide out in leadership, right? Because when you have a lot of people who are looking up to you, who want to achieve what you have achieved, they're not going to call you out, right? Because they're just hoping to get to where you are. So, exactly. So unless you are with people who have accomplished things that you want to accomplish that you have not yet accomplished, who, by the way, will not hesitate to call you out in a good way, usually, right? Call you forth. And I can remember, I'm not going to go through it now, but there are people and moments in my life when people called me forth, where they saw me bigger than I could see myself at that time. And those are the people who really made a difference in my life. And if you don't, you're absolutely right in terms of growing personally, in terms of getting deals done, and growing your business. If you don't find a way to associate with folks who have achieved more than you have, and by the way, one of the biggest ways is because these people get hit up all the time. Ask yourself what value you can provide that person. I don't care how successful they are. There's some area where, right, Precious the Killer Pitchmaster. Maybe this person is uber successful, but there's something that, they can use help on in terms of the pitch. I remember seeing, I wish I can credit the speaker, but I don't remember his name. He talked about the fact that he was really good at copywriting, in books, right, helping people with books. And there was a major player who was writing his first book, right? And he went and said, I'll help you with the book, no charge, right? The guy ended up bringing him to Hawaii. He spent 3 months at the guy's estate in Hawaii helping him with the book for no pay, right? Of course, he was put up there or whatever. Well, you want to know how he leveraged that in the positive, way, right? So, what can you do for these folks that will have them, not what can they do for you, because everybody's coming at them, right? What value can you provide for them so that then they will look out for you?
Right. Right.
So Precious, we are coming to the end of our time here. I always feel like I can talk to you for hours, and I can. But I know you have this event coming up, which you mentioned. Why don't you give the date and time and little details on that again, and anything else you have coming up? And by the way, folks, just look up Precious on social media, because no matter what she tells you she has coming up, she's going to have 10 other things coming up, tomorrow. So tell the folks what you want them to know about now. But then definitely follow her, because she's got a lot going on.
Okay, so I'm having Pitch Please, the Ultimate Women's Power Pitch Summit. It's through September 27th through the 29th, 2021. And it's going to be 3 to 4 hours a day, not 8 hours. You're not stressed out, but it's 3 days, 3 to 4 hours a day. And on the third day, okay, so the first day, it's all about learning how to pitch. The second day is all about the speakers and everything. The third day, if you're selected, you're going to pitch live to investors, companies and corporations, if you want to be a trainer, and media. See, I do things very, very differently. Yes, I'm a pitch master. I'm a 13-time national champion, but I didn't get here just by that alone. It's by the network that I had. It's that people saw me in certain places. And because they did, they opened the door. My job is to do this for select individuals who have proven themselves and are right for that opportunity. So in addition to offering $20,000 in investment prize money, there's also an opportunity to pitch to those big companies and corporations and media. And so, we have a 3-tiered option, $247, $297, I think, $597, and $997 if you want to pitch live. Okay. So Pitch Please Ultimate Women's Power Pitch Summit is virtual. So you ain't got to stress about
whether it's virtual or live. Okay, it's virtual.
Next year, we're going to be live. We're going to be live. We're going to be physical, but this year, we're going to do it virtually. So 3 to 4 hours a day for 3 days. So it's going to be power.
Is there a special URL, or so where do they go to find out?
Yes, I was going to put it here. Pitch Please. Okay. And I'm going to put the URL right here, I think, in our private chat. Okay, so here's where they can get more information. And again, if you want to learn more about me, I am Precious L. Williams. I'm the killer pitch master. My website is www.perfectpitchesbyprecious.com. On LinkedIn, I am Precious L. Williams, killer pitch master. Got to stay on brand. On Twitter, I am at Perfect Pitch P. On Facebook, I am at Perfect Pitch P, and on Instagram, I'm at Perfect Pitches P. If you want to check me out on YouTube, I'm under Perfect Pitches by Precious. And if you want to check out my show on LinkedIn every Sunday, it's called Keeping It Real with the Killer Pitch Master every Sunday. And again, if you want to get my books, you can go to my website, www.perfectpitchesbyprecious.com, and you'll see this right on the front page. You're not even going to get past this on the front page. If you want my other 2 books, Bad Bitches and Power Pitches for women entrepreneurs and speakers only, you can get that on my Work With Me page, which shows you the variety of programs that I offer. I do one-on-one group training. I also have digital products that you can learn at your own pace. And if you want to book me for speaking engagements, you can also go to my new website, www.killerpitchmaster.com. Thank you.
Love it. So listen, check her out. We're going to put a number of those links in the show notes for those of you who are listening, audio, whatever, or later. They will all be there. Or you know what? Just Google Precious Williams.
That's all you got to do.
And you know what? Trust me, you'll find, she's going to show up all over the place. I'm going to ask you a different final question, Precious. With everything that you've accomplished so far, what is on that bucket list that you haven't done yet, but is in your future?
Being the #1 rated talk show host in the nation.
All right.
Syndicated and everything. So get ready, y'all. It's coming.
All right. There we go. Great way to close. And we will hold that intention for you, Precious, in our hearts and our minds and whatever. I want to see that show. Precious Williams, thank you so much for being an amazing returning guest on the DealQuest podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Corey.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of DealQuest, where we help you understand how deal-driven growth can be your ticket to freedom. I want to invite you to a unique way to tap into the wisdom and experience of the DealQuest community. Join the DealQuest Deal Den Zoom calls, a free monthly 90-minute mastermind. In the mastermind, we address all the challenges you may be facing and help support you with the opportunities that may arise in terms of deal-driven growth. You will get input not only from me, but all the members on the call will collaborate and serve each other in a mastermind format. To sign up for the free mastermind, go to www.corykupfer.com/dealden. That's corykupfer.com/dealden. I'll see you there. I'm Corey Kupfer. Until next week, wishing you the freedom and financial prosperity that I know your DealQuest will bring.